Hey guys, it's me, and today we're here at the official launch of a series here on this channel. Am I gonna buy this or not? So if you guys haven't been watching these like anti-haul videos that I've posted throughout this year, what I essentially do is that I go through new product launches and talking about whether or not I would be interested in picking up any of them, and maybe even spilling a little bit of tea here and there, or just simply talking about brands in general and everything, and just how things work in the beauty space and whatnot. And I'm also going to be talking about, like, every so often, if I remember to do so, that is, talk about like new brand launches. But before we get on talking about these new product launches and brand announcements and whatnot, if you guys are new here to my channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. And also while you're down there, definitely give this video a thumbs up. And all my links are down in the description box below. And yeah, let's go ahead and do this. So first up, I want to talk about some new brand announcements. So first up, I want to talk about that Samantha Ravenol is releasing a brand sometime soon. I don't know when. I wound up learning about this from watching What's Up in Makeup from Jen Love, formerly known as Jen Love's Reviews. She had talked about that Samantha Ravenol is going to be releasing her own brand, which I find to be very exciting, but at the same time, I'm like shocked and confused as to how I found out from Jen and not through a video or a post from Sam. So I'm very confused as to how that happened, for me at least. So yeah, but at least I found out. But I'm super excited about it. I'm very curious as to what types of products she's going to be releasing. I don't know, this might be a bit of a stretch here, but I think that Sam, for her like her first product launch, is probably going to be something to deal with like face products. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know, I could be totally wrong here, but I know with Sam, like, she puts a lot of focus on like face products and everything, and is always going on about like face products. I know whenever she talks about like some of her favorite products that have been discontinued over the years or have been reformulated and she no longer likes a new formula, like it's always face products. It's always face products. It's never like eye products or anything like that. It's always face products. So I'm guessing that she might be releasing some like face products, maybe even some like lip products. I know she's talked a lot about like sheer lip products in like recent months, but I swear if Sam doesn't release a blush that is going to be a dupe for Warm Soul by MAC with the original formula that she loves and doesn't name it Fixed It, I am going to be so mad, because such a wasted opportunity. That product right there is the one that she rants about the most when it comes to like discontinued or reformulated products. And the final brand announcement that I want to talk about is from James Charles. Apparently he's going to be coming out with a cosmetic line. He did a photo shoot with Vogue Portugal, I believe is where it's from. But he did a photo shoot with them and he's on the cover of the magazine. He is wearing entirely makeup from his line. It just looked so pretty and just lovely to look at, and it has me really excited. I know like with James, like he's very experimental with his makeup, and just by looking at this photo you can really see that with this, and the fact that like all the products that he's wearing are products that he is launching. So I'm really curious as to just like what all is gonna be with the initial launch. I know Jen mentioned in What's Up in Makeup that she's thinking that there's most likely gonna be like a freckle pen involved. And she also mentioned, which I didn't know about in that video, because I learned about this launch before that video came out, because I originally filmed like the first time I filmed this video about like a week or so ago. So I've learned about this particular announcement back then. But Jen had mentioned that he's also going to be coming out with a fragrance line as well. It might be like connected to his cosmetics line, or it might be something that's a bit separate. I don't know. But the fact that he's coming out with a fragrance line is a bit interesting to me. I don't keep up with James at all. I don't follow him, but I mean, you don't necessarily need to follow him to know what it is that he's getting up to, because I mean, like, he's one of the most successful beauty influencers on the platform and everything. So it's just like, you're gonna hear about him whether you like it or not. Even though I don't follow him, I am very happy for his success. I know there have been times where my thoughts and opinions on him have fluctuated dramatically and everything, but I think like a big reason for that is just simply because, I mean, he is so young and it's just making so many decisions that I just cannot seem to fathom and like grip and understand why he's doing that. But then again, is like, he's much younger than me. Like, I'm 25. I think he just turned 20 quite recently and everything, so he's still very young, and he got into the industry very young, and because of that and the fact that he got so much success at such a young age, he never really had someone to properly check him, and so because of that, he's made a lot of he still hasn't fully matured and everything, so it's just like, we'll just have to wait and see how things go. That is that on them. Which of these two brands are you most excited for? In a way, I'm honestly most excited for Sam's brand. That one is just, I love Sam. I've been following her for many, many years. I've been following her since the Battle Ash days when there were like multiple people on the channel. So I've been following her for a hot ass minute, and I'm really curious as to like what is actually going to be happening. With James, it's kind of like, I don't mean to sound rude with saying this, but I mean, like, it's to be expected that he's gonna do something that's a little bit more on the colorful avant-garde side of things. Whereas with Sam, it's just like, it can go in so many different directions. You really don't know. Because I know in the early days, Sam used to be very avant-garde, but now she's just like very subdued and looking fresh. So let's go ahead and start actually talking about new product launches. And we're gonna start out by talking about a collection that just was announced yesterday in terms of when I'm filming this video. By the time this video is going up, the collection will already be out and it might be sold out, which makes me very, very sad. But at least I know that everything that's in this collection is going to be permanent. And that is a new collection from Lunar Beauty. And this is their holiday collection for 2020. Like I mentioned, it is going to be permanent, so no need to worry about if you miss out on it or not. There are quite a few things in here. We have 7 eye brushes, and then there will also be a brush bundle, and with the brush bundle you get like the 7 brushes and a brush bag. I don't know if you can get the brush bag. Oh, you can't get the brush bag by itself as well. There's a lip gloss and a liquid lipstick, which his liquid lip formula isn't like this one that I'm wearing today, the ABH liquid lipstick formula. It's not where it like goes on as a liquid and then dries down to a complete matte finish. It's more so like a melted lipstick. So think of like the NYX Soft Matte Lip Creams. And I've never tried his liquid lip formula. I'm definitely down to try them out at some point in time, just not entirely sure when. But the liquid lipstick that he's launching is actually a re-release, and that is for the Zaya liquid lipstick. And this was a limited edition product. I think he mentioned when he did the Greek Goddess collection. I think maybe, I don't remember. It was launched a long time ago, but it's back and it's going to be permanent this time around. But most importantly, the thing that I, as well as like probably most people, are excited about is the palette. And this is the Eternal Eclipse palette, and this is such a interesting color story that I am very much on board with. I think that it's really pretty. Like, it's definitely more on the neutral side of things, but there are some like warm tones, some cool tones. It's a really nice, just good neutral palette. And I really love that there's like a bright silver, like a true silver, because I've noticed that when it comes to like a lot of eyeshadow palettes that have been coming out in recent years, there hasn't been like a good, like nice, like icy silver shade. It's always been like a gunmetal or like a deeper, warmer gray, and it's just, I want something that's just icy, silvery, white type of eyeshadow, and that's gonna be in this palette. And I definitely want to be able to get my hands on this guy, and I really love the blue shades that are in this palette too. They look so pretty, like that shimmery blue and then that deep navy. Just, ooh, yes. I have like 2 of his eyeshadow palettes. I'm actually wearing nothing but Lunar Beauty shadows today. The palettes that I have from him are Strawberry Dream and Moonspell, and love both of those palettes. The formula is really, really nice, and I'm really excited for this palette. I don't know when I'll be able to get it, because I mean, like, I'm broke and unemployed right now, so I don't have any play money, so it'll be some time before I'm able to get my hands on this guy. But I really want this palette. It looks so nice, and the packaging of the palette, I don't know why, and this, you can call me weird as much as you want to for me saying this, but the packaging on this palette For some reason, I do not know why, but it makes me think of sci-fi horror. I don't know. I don't know why that is the case. It makes me think of like sci-fi horror. Definitely am looking forward to being able to get my hands on that palette. And I also wouldn't mind having the brushes either. Okay, so next up we have one of, I think maybe like 2 ColourPop collections that I'm going to be talking about in this video, but this one is the holiday collection from ColourPop, and it is the Amaro collection. Either Amaro or Amoureux collections, one of those two. But there's a decent amount, I say there's a decent amount of stuff, there's a lot of stuff in this. Wow. Okay, this is my first time seeing what all is in this collection, and there is a good bit of stuff in here. Okay. So in this collection, there are 2 eyeshadow palettes, there are 2 blushes, 4 luxe lip oils, and then a mini glitterly obsessed gel kit. And that guy, I believe, just comes with 2 glitter gels, I think. That's all that I'm seeing here. The blushes look nice. I don't know if they would be colors that I would go after though. And then 2, there are shimmery blushes. I don't really care for shimmery blushes. But then again, I've grown to learn that I don't like powder blushes either anymore. I'm a cream blush person now. I just prefer how they look on me. There is one powder blush that I do have in my collection that I do like. But all the other ones that I have, I've learned that I don't like at all. So, yeah. And it could be because of the formula, but even still, I just prefer how a cream blush looks on me because of my skin type. And like the lip oils, I don't think I would be interested in those. But these eyeshadow palettes, the gold tone palette, which is, I'm guessing, the Boudoir Noir palette, it doesn't interest me. It's just like a gold toned palette. Not interested in it. But the second palette though, the Ménage à Moi palette, that one is definitely calling to me because it's full of like rosy mauve tones, which I am a sucker for. I don't know why, I just love those types of colors so much. Like when I start working on my room again, although I definitely am more so leaning towards just painting my room like a lavender type of color, I wouldn't mind doing like a rosy mauve tone in here either, because it's just such a pretty and lovely color to me. Like rosy mauve tones are just so lovely to me. I love them so much. So I wouldn't be opposed to like getting that particular palette. And it looks like there are actually mirrors in these 2 palettes too. Oh wow, that's fun. Next up we have, I think, one of maybe 2 collections from Morphe that we're going to be talking about today. But this is the Morphe x Lisa Frank collab. Boy, do we have some tea to spill with this collection. This is not something that I'm going to go after because, for one, like, there are just so many things that I just am irritated by with this collection. Not the fact that I don't like Lisa Frank. Well, I don't know. But there are just so many things that have been pulled with this particular collection that they just bother me. So for starters, the brush set, it's 6 brushes, and then you get like a brush carrier bag thingy, and that's gonna retail for how much is it gonna be? It's gonna be $32 for 6 Morphe brushes and a bag. In a collection that we're going to talk about in a little bit, there are just 7 brushes in the brush set. There's no bag to it whatsoever. There are just 7 brushes, and it's retailing for $20. So it's just like, why is this so expensive? And also the brushes don't even look that good. They just look like basic brushes I can get in any like cheap brush set. Like I can get like all of these brushes in like a cheap brush set from like Moda for about maybe like less than $20. Why is this so much money? I don't know. I do not know. A 5-piece sponge set, which, okay. And I think that one's retailing for $19. Yeah, that was retailing for $19. And apparently there's a case for it. Okay. But the thing that most people are losing their tits over is this eyeshadow palette. This is where I start to really have some issues though with this collection for me personally. And that is the palette is the 35B palette, which they discontinued that palette because the James Charles palette was being launched. So they discontinued the 35B because of the fact that the 35B was a bit of a rainbow palette, but since James was coming out with his own rainbow palette, they discontinued the 35B. But they have brought it back. They just gave it like Lisa Frank packaging and are bringing it back and are charging $30 for it when this palette originally was maybe like 20 or 25. That there is just so infuriating to me because it's just like you're bringing back a palette that you got rid of just for the sake of a collab, and it's not even an original palette. Like, these are the same colors that were in the original 35B palette. I don't know anything about like the platform that I pulled this palette up from at all. I'm just pulling it up just so I can show you guys the palette, but this is the same exact palette as this Lisa Frank palette for the most part. Like, there might be some like subtle differences that were changed and whatnot, but for the most part, it's the same exact palette. Nothing about this is like exciting to me because it's clearly something that's just attacking people for nostalgia. And it just irritates me so much because it's clearly just a cash grab. And the fact that like Morphe changed their eyeshadow formula as well in recent years, I think like maybe like over the last year or so, they changed up their eyeshadow formula. And it's nowhere near as good as it used to be, supposedly. It just infuriates me. And then we have like the tea that Jen spilled on Twitter when this collection was announced and everything. And she had talked about the Kickstarter campaign that there was a few years ago, back in 2017. There was a Kickstarter that was made for a Lisa Frank makeup collaboration to happen. And many people like Jen put in a lot of money into it. Like Jen, she contributed $75 to the collaboration, and then other people pledged upwards to $150. And they had gotten way more money than was needed to make the collaboration happen. But since it was done through Kickstarter, they don't have a refund policy. More recent years, I haven't seen anybody use Kickstarter. It's always been like GoFundMe or Indiegogo. Because with Indiegogo, I can talk about this because I'm very familiar with Indiegogo. I haven't supported anybody through Indiegogo, but a lot of bands that I keep up with use Indiegogo. And that is because if they don't meet their goal, if they don't set their Indiegogo campaign to a flexible goal, then if they don't meet their goal, all the money gets given back to the people who contributed to the crowdfunding campaign. Or if things go tits up, then people can get their money back. Even though like the campaign had gotten more than enough money needed to make this collaboration happen, according to what Jen said in What's Up with Makeup, she had said that Lisa Frank was still requiring too much money to actually make anything happen. And so because of that, things went tits up with the collection. They didn't learn anything about that till I think it was like the beginning of this year, I think is what Jen had said. And the fact that things were just that shady and like only some people got like very small things out of the campaign and whatnot, it's just yeah, it's just gross. It's just really gross. And so it's just like, we're not gonna do this. And the fact that like, if Lisa Frank was gonna collaborate with any brand, why did it have to be Morphe? Why did it have to be Morphe? I mean, it's better Morphe than Makeup Revolution, I guess, but still. But moving on. Next up we have a new collection from Haus Labs, which for those of you who don't know is Lady Gaga's makeup brand. And in this collection we have 9 4-pan eyeshadow palettes, and these are being released for holiday this year, and they all have their own particular themes and everything. And we have for everyday, for fantasy, for sunset, for pay, for disco, for poolside, for runway, and for seduction. These are really cute and like really nice little curated palettes. They are very up there in price though. They're $24 each. So like I said, very up there in price. But I really do like some of these color stories though. The one that I like the most is for Runway. That color story is just so cool and just so much fun, and I really like that one a lot. But yeah, but these are some like really nice cute little quads. I really like just like the simplicity yet colorfulness of the packaging on them. And I'm just really curious about these palettes. I'm definitely gonna keep my eyes out for like people doing reviews on these, because I've never tried anything from Haus Labs. I definitely want to at some point in time. But yeah, but these palettes, they look really nice. So next up we have a limited edition palette from Huda Beauty, and this is to celebrate 5 years of being a brand, and it is the Gold Obsessions palette. This is not a palette that I am interested in because it's just a bunch of gold tones and then like the traditional like pinky burgundy tones that you find in almost every single Huda palette. But I mean, the packaging on this palette though is just stunning. The packaging is just gorgeous. It's divine. The colors inside, they're not revolutionary whatsoever, but I mean, like, it's a limited edition palette to celebrate 5 years. In my eyes, personally, I find it really nice that a limited edition palette isn't that exciting, because that means that like people aren't going to be upset once it's gone. So yeah. And that's just me personally. I know some people are probably like losing their tits over this, but for me, it's just eh. Okay, next up we have a collection from Melt Cosmetics, and it is the Beetlejuice Collection. This is such a interesting collection to happen, and it's a very fun collection, but there is a lot of stuff in here. Like there's hand mirror, there's a brush set, there are lipsticks, I think there are liquid lipsticks or maybe lip glosses, I'm not sure. There are cream gel liners, and there's a mascara, which I don't think Melt has ever done a mascara before. I think this might be their first mascara. I could be wrong on that. And then there's also an eyelash curler. And then there are 2 eyeshadow palettes. There's a 10 pan and a 8 pan palette. So I'm just going to touch on the palettes that are in this collection. So we have the Waiting Room and the Recently Deceased palette. So the Waiting Room is a red and gray toned palette, and then the Recently Deceased palette is a green and purple toned palette. Between those 2 palettes, I'm definitely imbibing more with the Recently Deceased palette, which is based off of a color story, but I really do love the packaging for the Waiting Room palette as well. But then too, like, both of these color schemes are very simple because you're only getting like 2 types of colors to work with. So between the 2, I'm definitely gravitating more towards the Recently Deceased, but I'm probably not going to get either of them though, honestly, just simply because I don't really need either of them, but they're both really fun though, and I love Beetlejuice. I mean, it was a huge part of my childhood. So here we have the next ColourPop collection that I was talking about earlier that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and this is one that I am so excited for, and that is the ColourPop x RawBeautyKrisi collab. I am so happy for Christie. I've been a huge fan of her for about 2 years now. I started following her about 2 years ago. I had known about her much longer than that because I learned about her when she made it to the top 6 at the Face Awards several years ago. I can't even remember which year it was that she made it to the top 6. I didn't keep up with her at all back then because I just wasn't interested in her stuff back then. But then about 2 years ago, her and Samantha Ravenol did a video together where they did their go-to summer looks. Well, Sam did her go-to summer look and then peer pressured Christie into trying new products, and I fell in love with Christie in that moment, and I just fell in love with her, started watching her videos and subscribed to her and everything. Like, this has just been her year. So many great things have been happening. I mean, she had her collab with Pure come out, which I have the eyeshadow palette for that, and then like she's pregnant and she's gonna be having her baby very, very soon. I think she said she's at 37 weeks now, so a home skillet's about to pop out. Then also like her and Zach and their 3 kitties finally moved into their new house. I mean, I think it's still being worked on to a degree, but I mean, for the most part, they're able to be living there now. So it's just like so many great things are coming her way, and I'm so happy for her. But this collection, there's a lot in this collection. There are 3 pencil liners. There are 4 Super Shock shadows, 2 Ultra glosses. I think they're the Ultra Luxe glosses, I think is what the formula is called. I think is what it's called. Where are you at? Just the Luxe glosses, not the Ultra Luxe. And then there is the At Forest Sight palette. So out of everything here, I am the most excited for the palette, just like anybody else would be. When it comes to the pencil liners, although I really do love the colors, I know I'm not going to use them that often, so I'm just going to stay away from them. And then like with the Super Shocks, I definitely want to try more of the Super Shock formula because I only have a one ColourPop product, and that is the Sweet Talk palette. And there's a Super Shock in that palette, and I find it very fascinating. I definitely want to try out more. It's just like the shades though that are in this collection, they don't necessarily call to me, so sadly I probably won't be picking up any of those. And then when it comes to the glosses, like I'm trying to warm up to like liking glosses and using glosses a bit more. I only have one gloss in my collection, that's the Fenty Gloss Bomb in Fussy, but it's also a mini, so it makes sense for me to have that because it's a mini and I don't use gloss very often. But I wouldn't mind having either of those 2 glosses because they're both very pretty and they're also like very like low and like color payoff. So I could definitely see myself gravitating towards those 2 guys because of that, because you're able to like pair them up with a lot more stuff. But obviously my sights are mainly on this palette. I'm hoping that this palette is going to remain around for a while because with me being broke and unemployed right now, I can't afford to get this palette right now. And I know the restock is happening December 11th, I believe, and most likely I'm not going to have the money to get it at that point in time, so I'm hoping that it's going to remain like either semi-permanent or just permanent in general. I know like Kathleen Light's collabs lasted with ColourPop for a very, very long time, and I know like the So Jaded palette is still available, and that palette launched about 2 years ago. Even though it's like got some really nice colors to it, it's also quite grungy, and I just really like the color story. It reminds me a lot of the Subculture palette from Anastasia, which I really do still want that palette, even though I'm pretty sure it's been discontinued. But this will definitely be like a great alternative for it, and the palette is $20, so it's such a great price point. So I really want this palette, and the packaging, oh my god, the packaging is just so cute. It's so cute. I love the packaging so much. Like being someone like myself who feels a very strong connection to nature, I just love this palette so much. Oh, I forgot to mention this in the first part of this video, but we're going to talk about it now. But in 100 select Target store locations across the US, there will be Ulta little pop-ups popping up. So it'll be kind of similar to that of how like across the US in some JCPenney's you have a Sephora section inside the JCPenney. So they're going to be working like that, which is really exciting. But here's the catch though. They're only going to be having prestige items. So they're not going to have like any drugstore brands that you can find inside an Ulta, because this is going to be centered right next to the cosmetic sections in Target already. So they're going to have the Target drugstore section, and then they're going to have the prestige Ulta section. And so you're going to have like brands like Anastasia, Urban Decay, those types of brands are most likely going to be what's in this Ulta pop-up inside Target stores, which I'm very excited about, but also really scared about, because I've never been a Target person really. I've only have shopped inside Target, but maybe like a few times my entire life, just simply because the only Target that is nearby me is in a hellhole of a location. So because of that, I just never shop at Target hardly ever. But this would probably get me to shop there a bit more often, even though there is a standalone Ulta location very close by to my house as well. So I don't know if we would ever get this Ulta pop-up at my local Target, because like I said, there's an Ulta here in my town as well. And since it's easier to like get in and out of the standalone Ulta location, even though I would have to deal with a lot of traffic getting back home, like I would choose going to the standalone store over the one inside the Target, because getting both in and out of the area that my local Target is located in is just horrible. I want to talk about this brand, and that is Hourglass. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because Hourglass are coming to Ulta. Normally I would be really excited for this. I'm going to be going in the direction that Samantha Ravenol is going in with Hourglass, and that is that I won't be supporting them. And the reason being is because Hourglass has, from like Sam mentioned, Hourglass has just continued to prove that when it comes to like inclusivity, it's just not something that is on their radar. And it's just really just eating at her that like this brand that is loved by so many people and releases so many amazing products don't have those products in a wide enough range to be able to work with so many different types of people, because they only ever release but one shade or like one particular version of a product or a palette of some sorts. And so it's just really disheartening to see it happen, especially with a brand like Hourglass where they have such great products. For Sam, this like moment was also a tipping point for her as well with the brand, and that is that they brought back a palette that was limited edition that only had but one shade, that only had but one version. They discontinued that palette even though it was a very beloved palette because, like I said, it was limited edition, but the brand decided to reformulate it and bring it back. But you would think that with reformulating it, they would also expand the shades on it and expand the palettes and everything and like make more for other people. But they didn't do that. That right there is just like a move that is just like blatantly obvious that this brand just does not have their heads in the right spaces and just don't care about inclusivity. Yeah, when it comes to like foundations and whatnot, they have like a large range for the most part, but still, like, if your foundations are the only products that have like a good range but every other face product that you release doesn't, it's just very lazy. It's just very lazy, and it's just, they're not doing what they should be doing. So yeah, I mean, I've never had the money to get Hourglass products before, so I mean, I've never had to spend money on their products, but I've always been very curious about trying their products out, and I was also looking forward to trying out some of their products, but I just can't. Because like I said, they just continue to just show to the world that they just don't care about inclusivity. Next up is from Revolution Beauty, and they are launching a lifestyle brand, more specifically candles. And God, this brand. Okay, so Revolution Beauty has really fallen off, like, for me and everything. Like, when they first came out, I was really on board with them. They're just a dupe brand. They're not exactly like ripping people off and whatnot, but then it's just like they started doing some things and blatantly copying other brands and like packaging from other brands, and then also they duped ColourPop of all things, and it's just like, why? Like, they duped like ColourPop's like monochromatic palettes, which are only but $12 and everything, and they made their own 9-pan monochromatic palettes and are retailing them for $9. And it's just like, why? Why? I mean, I can understand to a degree that it might be a little bit trickier to get ColourPop in the UK, because I know Makeup Revolution is a UK based brand, and so I can understand to that degree. But that's the only point that makes it like seem a bit normal. But it's still like they duped ColourPop, like an already affordable brand. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, they're coming out with a lifestyle brand. Like, for those of you who don't know, Revolution Beauty, they have so many different like brands under their umbrella, because it's like they got Makeup Revolution, they have like a skincare line, they have We Love Revolution, which is like another beauty makeup line within the brand, and it's just, then now they have this, and they got so many other ones as well, because like the brand that like duped ColourPop, I believe it's its own separate subsidiary part of Makeup Revolution. It's just so strange. I know that like when it comes to like product development, it takes a long time to develop product and everything, and so when you initially see something, you might say like, oh, this is a blatant ripoff of Forever Mood, which is Jackie Aina's brand, which is a lifestyle brand because their first launch was candles. And at the same time, it's just like Forever Mood launched a few months ago. I think they launched about maybe like 2 or 3 months ago. And so it's just like, there's no way that a brand could have been able to like develop, create, manufacture, and release like candles that quickly and a lifestyle brand that quickly, but you still can't help but wonder that they did that. It just doesn't sit well with me either, and it's just like, the only thing that these candles have going for them for me personally is the packaging. I like the packaging on them. I think the packaging is cute and simple, but it's not something that I'm gonna get. And like, you know how like when you're scrolling through like Instagram and you see 2 comments from like people that you follow on the platform and everything, things where there's like a bunch of comments on it and everything. I see comments from Vincent Langlois, which he is a model and I believe he's also a brand owner now. I believe he has an underwear brand now. He commented on it saying no with a heart emoji. And then Manny Umiwe, who has some serious beef with Revolution because they stole the packaging design from his brand, he commented on it, ellipses. Girl. So next up, we're going to talk about Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Yes, I know. A brand that I have canceled. We're talking about them. Why? Why am I talking about this instead of like that really bizarre Kylie Cosmetics and Grinch collab? We're not going to talk about that collab because that's just a mess. But this is also a mess, but it's a much more interesting mess to talk about. You can tell that this brand is really starting to go downhill. And that's why I want to talk about it, because I love celebrating the misfortune of horrible people. Sean and Freya! Fuck you, lady, that's what stairs are for. By the way, did any of you guys watch the video that Jackie Aina posted last week where her and Mac Daddy Angel, the 2 of them collabed and they did Truth or Drink and whatnot, and they subtly / not so subtly threw like extreme amounts of shade at Jeffree without saying his name. Girl, I live. Anyways, he's expanding the Bloodline collection and is releasing a green toned palette because it's called Blood Money. I like green. I like green eyeshadows, but the tones in here though, a lot of them just make me feel gross. I just don't vibe with it. And same thing goes with the liquid lips, because like there are a lot of liquid lips that are very similar to the shades that are in the palette, and it's just, I just can't get on board with it. And then too, like the packaging of this palette is just so boring compared to like his other palettes and everything, because it's just like, it just looks like a crocodile skin suitcase. That isn't exciting. Also seems very lazy to me as well. The brand just seems to be going in a very lazy direction, because the last several palettes that have been released by the brand, all of the palettes actually this year that have been released by the brand have all been monochromatic palettes. It's just very boring and lazy to me at this point. Also, like Luxaria, she made a video talking about JFC and how like she doesn't support the brand, and talked about the initial launch of this collection. Well, I say the launch, the announcement of this collection, talking about how it was a huge mess, and now like the current video that's up about the launch of this collection is also a mess because Jeffree is just so far away. Jeffree is like all the way out here. Make it make sense. Like, you're clearly at this point just like flaunting your wealth to us and everything, and it's just, flex culture is such an issue in this day and age with social media, especially in this climate now with us dealing with a global pandemic, and so many people like myself are broke and unemployed and have no money to spend, and here you are like in this like, I don't know, the set for like that video too just looked really cheap and basic, so I'm guessing he's getting hit hard in that sort of sense as well, because like I said, it just looked ugh. Now obviously, since I don't support the brand, I'm not going to pick up this collection, but I know some people do like his products and everything, which if you are the type of person that is able to separate like the person who owns the brand from the products themselves, and you just want to get the products because you like makeup and you like the brand's quality and things like that, then by all means do so. Like, spend your money the way that you want to and get the products that you want to get. But for me personally, it's so difficult for me to separate Jeffree from the brand and everything, because like Jeffree like meant so much to me growing up and everything, so I have like a really intense history with him and everything because of that. And so it's just something that I just can't deal with and everything, and it's just something that I just can't look past and separate, because yeah. We just have 2 things left to talk about, and the second to last thing we're going to talk about is the Morphe x Nikita collab. The packaging on this palette is so dope. I love the packaging so much. It makes me think of like video games and whatnot. But that's all that this palette has going for it, because the inside of this palette is not that exciting at all. Like, it's just nothing exciting. It just looks like a normal Morphe palette. And like the Metamorphosis shade, yeah, looks cool in the pan. But, I mean, you know that swatched is probably just very basic and simple. And I know some people might be saying like, yeah, but there's so many bright colors in there and you love bright colorful palettes and everything. And you mentioned earlier that a freaking neutral palette from Lunar Beauty was very exciting, and yet you're looking at this and this isn't. It's because it's Morphe. How many palettes has Morphe put out that has a similar color scheme to this? So many of them. It just isn't doing it for me. And then too, it's just like, I don't really like Nikita either. Like, I just find her to just be way too full of herself, and I just can't get on board with her because of that. And she's also has said and like done things that I just don't agree with and whatnot. And I mean, like, one of the things that I can talk about is how like during like Dramageddon, like when her, Manny, Gabriel, and Laura were all like getting attacked and everything, like Nikita, like, she's just doing her own thing while her friends are getting like ran over by trains, then getting struck by lightning, and then getting COVID right afterwards, just right when they think that they're in the clear. And Nikita's just acting as if it's a Tuesday. She never addresses any controversy that she becomes part of, and just acts as if like nothing is happening. Like the only world that matters to her is like what's happening to her in that particular moment, and like her small little bubble and everything. It just does not sit well with me. And she has always, because I used to follow her like during like the early stages of her transition. This was one of the reasons why I stopped following her, is because of the fact that she just carries herself as if she is a celebrity, and she has always done so. And I know some people are like, oh, she's just very confident and everything, but it's just like, it comes off so unapproachable though, and it's just not something that I can get behind, because it's just like, she just makes herself out to be like she is a rich bitch, and you are gonna know it, and you can never be on that same level. The palette retails for $30, and this is that brush set that I was talking about earlier that retails for $20, and there are 7 brushes in it. That brush set makes sense. The Lisa Frank one doesn't, because I mean, like, if you can make 7 brushes cost $20, but 6 brushes and a bag cost $30, how much money is that bag? Because the bag is clearly more expensive than the brushes. And the last launch that we're going to be talking about is from Huda Beauty, and this is the holiday palette for this year. And honestly, I do want this palette. I think that it's like a nice little fun palette. Is it revolutionary for Huda Beauty? No, because there's a lot of like pinky berry tones. This is the Naughty Nude palette, and it's such a basic palette, but that slippery shade though, like, just read the comments on this post on Trend Mood, and people are like being like, slippery looks gross, like slippery got COVID. One of the comments that I saw said slippery has scabies. And it's just, Like, bruh, it looks so gross and disgusting. But when it's swatched, it's the most basic pink shade ever. And it's just like, how could something so revolting in the pan look so, like, basic and generic swatched? It's just, make it make sense. Honestly, I wouldn't mind having this palette. I do want to try Huda Beauty's eyeshadows. This palette is definitely expensive because like these 18 pan palettes from her are all $67 each. So they're definitely up there in price in comparison to the Obsessions palettes, because I think the Obsessions palettes retail for $29 and they're 9 pans. I think some of them retail for $27. It's such a weird eyeshadow. It's so weird, but I do like the color story though overall. Like I said, it's very basic and simple. But for that shade Slippery, I want it. Is it just me, or does Slippery look like it's mutating, or is there a new makeup texture style I don't know about yet? That pearl gloss gives me the creeps. There's a reason why it was never seen before. That is it for this month's episode of Am I gonna buy this or not? There are a lot of passes in this video, but I'm sure that there will be a time where there will be launches that I will be more excited for and that I would be more interested in picking up. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys will continue liking these videos. I'm gonna try to get these out once a month for you guys. I'm not sure if I'll post one next month though, just simply because a lot of things tend to not happen in December, because during this point in time people are mainly focusing on releasing things for holiday, and so that's why a lot of launches and announcements happen during the month of November and even October. But are any of you guys interested in any of the products that I mentioned in this video? Let me know down in the comments down below so we can all discuss about how we feel about these products and launches and brands and people behind them and whatnot. But until I see you guys in my next video, whenever the hell that may be, goodbye.